Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad New Fangled Motion Picture Show.
Welcome one and all to another episode of the Everything is Bad Newfangled Motion Picture Show. I am your host, Herr Niall.
And I am Herr Nolan.
And today we're going to be doing a review of Jojo Rabbit. So before we get going into that, a couple of housekeeping things. One, we're going to do a spoiler-free review, and then give you a spoiler warning and get more in-depth into it after that. And that's pretty much all you need to know going in, right? So,
yeah,
here we go. This movie, definitely contender for best movie of the year.
I love this movie.
This movie was fantastic. If you're one of the people that are the reason this doesn't have a perfect 10 out of 10 on IMDb, it's because you don't understand what satire is.
Yeah, I read a few negative reviews just to see what people were saying, and basically what it comes down to is people either don't understand that it's satire, or they don't think that, or they don't understand what satire is. They don't realize, they don't think it's something like, oh, you can't joke about such a serious topic. Like, well, that's the whole point of satire, is to destroy through humor.
Yeah, when you can make fun of something like this, you take away its power. And that's kind of the whole point. And frankly, a lot of the stuff that happens in this movie isn't actually that far off from what actually happened. It's just when it's presented to you in this without the very serious, like, you know, the themes, I guess is the best word I can think of right now, of World War II specifically, it seems ridiculous.
Right. I know I saw someone saying that they thought it was offensive to portray Hitler as a bumbling idiot. I'm like, why would you want to portray him as anything more than a bumbling idiot? Are you pro-Hitler? Like,
yeah.
That's such a weird thing to say.
Yeah, and I mean, it's also not really Hitler.
It's a boy's imaginary friend, and he's just sort of acting out the insecurities of the boy.
Yeah.
It just happens to be in the guise of Adolf Hitler.
Which just, I mean, it's ridiculous. But
right.
That's the whole point. And this, I mean, that's, yeah. So the people disparaging it in the reviews don't understand satire or don't understand the whole point of satire. I think this movie is fantastic. I think it's sends a real strong message about like a nature versus nurture thing.
Yeah.
And and I think it really shows how this group of people that hated other different people so vehemently, like how they can get such a following. And I think this movie does a really good job of showing that. And there's a particular line, I don't want to ruin it, so it'll probably be brought up in the spoiler section. There's a really good line in this movie that I think is like perfectly like encompasses this fervor that happened around the Nazi Party in Germany at this time. But in like what Taika Waititi has said in interviews and stuff about how the whole movie is just showing how like people come to hate things and for reasons they can't even really quantify.
Yeah.
But along the way though, this movie is just also incredibly funny.
You might not think like it's a movie about World War II. What's to be funny? But it really is very funny from start to well. There's some serious moments here and there scattered throughout, but some very heart-wrenching moments here and there. But there's a lot of humor in there, and it doesn't make light of the horrible events that happened.
It makes
in that
light.
time.
It makes light of the Nazi Party,
Right.
and that's a very key distinction, I think, to be able to enjoy this movie.
There's also a message in there about not all the Germans were bad people. There are plenty of them that fought out of a sense of patriotism, but didn't actually believe the Nazi Party line necessarily. So, there's that message in there. There's, messages about,
Well, I mean,
people doing things out of fear.
Erwin Rommel, probably the most famous field commander in the German army from World War II, was known to be against Hitler's ideas. He was just doing it because that's his country. So that. Yeah, it's not saying we should necessarily
don't follow blindly.
Yeah,
but,
don't.
Anyway, I'm just saying that there's a message there that they weren't all necessarily bad people.
Yeah.
Which I guess is upsetting to some people to consider that, but that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get beyond the message. The performances in this movie. This kid who plays Jojo, his first thing he's ever done, and professionally, he's really great.
Yeah, Roman Griffin Davis.
Yeah, and then even he's got a friend, Archie Yates is the actor. That's also his first thing, and he's really funny. Yorkie is the character, yeah.
He has some of the best lines of the movie.
He's really funny. The performances, top to bottom, are great. I even liked Rebel Wilson.
I didn't realize Alfie. Oh wait, yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, I remember Alfie Allen's character. Yeah.
He's the captain's
the assistant to Captain K.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell, who's just always great.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell is always great, but in this movie, he's just really funny. Let's see. Scarlett Johansson's good in just about everything she does. So yeah, just all around, the acting was superb in this movie. It's.
Yeah, I just go see the movie. I want it to do really well, so that studios will give Taika Waititi money to make more movies.
Yeah, well, not just that, but also that they'd be willing to take chances on this kind of a movie.
Right. This is through Fox Searchlight. This is kind of, they do the indie movies, nothing is like this quite, but they do indie movies. So, but yeah, I want
satires are just,
yeah.
To me, satire is, I think, the highest form of comedy, because I think it requires a very deep understanding of the subject matter to be able to make these kinds of jokes involving it.
Right. One of my favorite movies is Dr. Strangelove, which is a satire.
Yeah.
As well, and that's a very funny movie. So sort of in the same vein, making light of, or not making light of, but showing the horrors of a really terrible situation through comedy.
Which just really drives home the horror of the situation that much more, I think.
Yeah.
Because especially when you see just the kind of fervor that the Hitlerjugend, or the Hitler's Youth, or HJ, has in this movie, and there's things they say, Sam Rockwell will say something that's makes you go what the hell, and all the kids cheer, and you're just like, oh my god. And it's ridiculous and just so over the top, but
it's not far from the truth.
It's really not far from the truth at all. So I think it's I think for something frankly as dark and serious as the rise of Nazism in Germany during World War II, or pre-World War II and World War II, I think viewing it as a comedy is one of the best ways to really be able to appreciate the
I think another
magnitude.
thing, because there's been such little satire on the subject. There's been a few out there, but there's been such little satire compared to the serious stuff. It gets more attention.
Yeah.
As the satire.
Yep.
If this were just any old like drama about this, there wouldn't be as much talk about the movie. I don't think.
No, but if you had like the same kind of a storyline, but as a serious movie, that's starting to approach Oscar Gold territory.
Yeah, that's true. Although I think this movie deserves an Oscar.
It won't get one.
It won't get one.
They never give them to comedies. But yeah, going back to what you said about the two kids and how well they did, I think when you have child actors that perform really well in a movie, I think it says a lot more about the director than the actors themselves. I mean, obviously the kids are part of it, but I think, like, especially when it's like a kid's first time in a movie, like a lot of them being able to figure out what to do and give the performance in such a good way, a lot of that really comes down to the director helping them do that, doing his job.
Yeah.
Also, this is the only movie I've ever liked Rebel Wilson in. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Because normally the kinds of movies she does are just the kind of dumb comedy I don't give a crap about.
Yeah, I don't know if it was necessarily her or just the movies she's in.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that she's the problem with any of the movies she's in, but she definitely tends to be in movies that are not for me. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, well, you have the same issue with Melissa McCarthy, right? But every once in a while, you'll see a movie with her, and you're like, "Oh, I really like that." Well, I'm like, she's always like that in all her movies. It's just a lot of the movies she does are just not movies you like,
right? But yes, I mean, I don't know how much more we could say about this movie without spoiling it.
Yeah, just please go see this movie.
This movie deserves all of your money, or at least some of your money. I think it's doing well. Seems to be getting a lot of positive attention. The theater we saw it in was the biggest one, and this is the same weekend that Terminator came out.
Yeah, it was across the hall from the Terminator. So the two largest screening rooms at the theater we saw had the Terminator in one of them, and then this in the other one.
Yeah. So I think that says a lot about the movie. I mean, to be fair,
so.
When we saw Jojo Rabbit, it wasn't a particularly full screening, but we also weren't necessarily there during.
We weren't there during peak film viewing times.
Yeah, we were there around dinner time on Friday, so maybe the next showing was probably more attended, and the ones on like Saturday afternoon were probably more attended.
Yeah, well, we ran into some friends coming out of another movie. They were going in to see it, so
yeah.
At a later screening time on a Saturday, so
that was on our way out of Motherless Brooklyn. Look out for that review coming up the day after this one goes up.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
But anyway, so spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
All right. Yeah. So there's this line that the Jewish girl says in
Elsa, I think her name is.
Yes. Yeah. There's this line that she gives to Jojo, where she says, basically, you're not a Nazi, Jojo. You're just a funny little boy who wanted to wear a uniform and be part of a club, or something like that.
I think it's in one of the trailers.
Yeah,
she says that also.
Yeah, I think that's a really impactful statement. And you were telling me about a documentary
called Rise of the Third Reich, which is entirely readings of diaries and letters and film footage and like home movies from that time period, that when placed together you see how the Nazis came to power little by little. And a lot of it is people going to rallies and wow, this is really invigorating and fun, and I feel part of something. And that's what a lot of it was just
particularly
feeling like you're a part of something big, and not real. The message was inconsequential to a lot of the people joining.
Yeah.
It was feeling part of something, feeling proud of something, especially at a time when there wasn't a lot to be proud of in Germany, because the state it was left in after World War One.
Right, and especially this was especially so with the HJ kids. There's letters and stuff of diaries and stuff from kids who were in the Hitler's Youth that were just like, I don't really know, I don't really care about the message, or I'm not so sure about the message, but all my friends are doing it, and I have fun doing these activities with my friends, and we're all part of this organization.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is a time Germany was paying war reparations still, and the mark was so worthless that every country started demanding goods instead of money. And that was making things even worse, because now they didn't have, the coal or whatever left either. And so it was like everyone in the country was just in such a dire position that, anything to be proud of, no matter what the message was, felt good.
Yep.
And then for the children, the HJs, children are so easily manipulated. Especially, he's around 10 years. Jojo's 10 years old.
Yeah. He's 10 years old at the beginning of the movie, and he's 10 and a half at the end.
Yeah, so he's so easily manipulated, You almost can't blame a lot of, especially the young people, for this. But anyway, yeah, I think that statement is,
that's kind of
very true of a lot of Germans.
Yeah, and that's sort of the message of the whole movie, about it revolving around this kid.
I love his response, though, was,
well,
I'm really into swastikas, so I think I'm a Nazi.
Yeah, that had us dying in the theater. The whole theater was laughing so hard at that comment. There were two lines in the movie that just really made us laugh hard. It was that one, and at the end of the movie when the Americans are coming, and
the Americans are coming from one side and the Russians are from another,
which didn't happen.
No,
the Allies are worried about friendly fire issues about involving approaching the same town from different sides, but Jojo is talking to Yorkie, and Yorkie's talking about the Allies moving in, and the state of the government, and Hitler had killed himself, and he goes, "It's not a good time to be a Nazi." It's just the way just the matter of fact way he delivers it is just so funny. That kid in general is just really funny. He's carrying that Panzerschreck, and he drops it to wave at Jojo, and it fires,
and it blows up the store. He's like, "Oh God!"
Yeah, yeah. It's just really funny movie.
Between him and then Hitler.
And Sam Rockwell. Yes, as Captain Klenzendorf, or Captain K, he says, "You can call me Captain K." And I was like, does KMFDM know? Or
he has some great lines. He has some
really great lines. Yeah, and that thing with the uniform, man.
Oh yeah, Jojo walks in to talk to him, and he's drawing out this new uniform that he's gonna put on when the Allies show up, and he's got these colored pencils, and he's drawing feathers on it, and it's all bedazzled and stuff. I'm not sure. It kind of maybe hints that he and his assistant, played by Alfie Allen, might be gay.
I'm pretty sure they were. Especially that scene when he gets up close to him. He's like, "I'm sorry for yelling at you like that." It's the thing with the German Shepherds.
Oh yeah, this is great. Jojo again walks into the office, and he's yelling at assistants. I meant for for you to get dogs to help protect the city, not actual German shepherds. And the camera pans over, and there's these guys standing there, these
like wearing like wool,
shepherd outfits.
Yeah, like wool and shepherd's crooks.
Right, and so he goes, I was like, I'm sorry for you. It's a stupid name for a dog. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's Sam Rockwell too. He's a really good character. He kind of takes a liking to Jojo, and this is where the message of not everyone was necessarily a bad person, right? And so he takes a liking to Jojo, and he knows Jojo's mother, apparently, and he does a number of things throughout the movie, he specifically finds like jobs for Jojo. Starts off with like little things like that, like to keep him busy and keep his mind off of wanting to go to the front and fight, and
right.
and like
to keep him also keep him feeling like he's worth something, because Jojo got injured in the beginning of the movie and he's walked with a limp now and
he's got scars on his face.
Yeah.
So to make him still feel like he's useful. And so like when you really get the message that he's actually a good person and trying to help Jojo is this scene that's very Monty Python-esque. This scene where the Gestapo shows up, and there's the Monty Python thing is that there's 5 Gestapo agents, and they're all walking in going, Heil Hitler, and Jojo goes, Heil Hitler, back to them, and it happens 5 times.
And then someone else will show up, and they'll all Heil Hitler everyone in the room.
Yeah.
And it keeps happening repeatedly.
Yeah.
And the head Gestapo is Stephen Merchant.
Yep.
And he's funny. He's always
yeah.
He's funny in comedic roles. He's been some serious roles too.
Right.
Like he wasn't funny as Caliban necessarily.
No.
but
yeah, and so while they're searching the house because they got a tip that there's a Jew there, and Sam Rockwell, Captain K, just walks in carrying his bicycle, and he's saying like, "Oh, Jojo was riding by, and my bike got a flat, so I thought I'd come in and see you," or something like that. Some like clearly transparently contrived excuse to come into the house, and
again, Heil Hitler's all around.
Yeah, and they hear a noise upstairs, and Jojo's real nervous at this point because he kind of has a crush on the...
He's befriended the Jewish girl by this point.
Yeah, and you could tell he's kind of crushing on her. And so he's really worried about them being in there. And they go upstairs when they hear this noise, and they find the Jewish girl, claiming to be Jojo's sister who died before the events of the movie.
She looks enough like her that there's a photograph of her you see, and then she looks somewhat like her.
Right. And so the
Captain K knows she's his sister.
Captain K knows his sister is dead. Because he apparently knows
Jojo's
the family.
Mother. Yeah, they know each other. The way they talk to each other, it's clear that they know each other, and they've known each other for a long time, or something. And so he gets this look on his face like,
this is weird. And
but he doesn't say anything.
He doesn't say anything. And so the Gestapo guy asks to see her papers. And she goes and gets his sister's passport and hands it to Captain K. And he's like, how old are you in this photo? And she says, 14. It was taken in, 1940 or whatever.
Like, you're taken 3 years ago.
3 years ago or whatever. And he says, what's your birth date? And she says, like, May 1st, 1930, whatever. And he goes, oh, checks out, and he closes up the passport. And the Gestapo guy says something like, let me see that. And you think that he wants to look at the passport, and Sam Rockwell looks real nervous to be handing the passport over. And the Gestapo guy walks past him.
To see something else.
And
he just sort of slips it away. But then later, they open up the papers, and they look, and she got the date totally wrong.
Yeah, or off by a few days.
Right, but, he had clearly covered for them.
Yeah, and then the big thing that Sam Rockwell does is at the end of the movie, when the Russians are rounding up all the Nazis to shoot them, after taking the town. Jojo's walking around in this German field jacket because it was put on him by Rebel Wilson, who's like, "Here, put this on."
She's organizing the HJs to fight.
Yeah, she's organizing the HJs to fight. Like that's a whole thing. With the grenade tucked in that kid's waistband, and she pulls the string out and says, "Here, go give those Americans a hug." And you're just like, "Oh, that's funny, but it's really dark."
Yeah.
And so when she sees Jojo, she's like, "Why aren't you in uniform? Here, put this on so they know not to shoot at you." And she puts this field jacket on. So he's walking around in this field jacket after the fight. And he gets grabbed by the Russians and tossed in with the rest, and he runs into Captain K. And Captain K like gives him this speech about like, your mother's a good person, like actually a good person, not, and
he's shielding him because the Russians start pulling out guns, and he's like turning Jojo away from them,
right?
So he doesn't see it.
And so he yanks the field jacket off of Jojo and throws him to the ground and shouting, "Get away from me, Jew," and spitting at him and stuff. And so the Russians drag him out of there before they put the rest of them in front of a firing squad. And so like that was a thing where like he had a really good character arc, I think, from like drunken, wastrel basically.
Yeah, well,
at the beginning of the movie.
He
lost an eye.
He lost an eye in the war, and so he was moved from being on the front to just being in charge of a group of Hitler's youth. Which he felt, was kind of obviously it was a demotion. So, but he was feeling kind of sorry for himself in the beginning of the movie, but he by the end he's kind of come around. Yeah. But yeah, it shows he also doesn't really believe the dogma of the Nazi Party. Yeah.
And you sort of realize that throughout. Rebel Wilson does.
Yeah, well, 100%. Even when Jojo gets it in his head to write a book about Jews, and so he's asking Elsa all these questions about them. She's telling him all this BS stuff.
Like, oh, we have horns, and we can read each other's minds, and we love shiny things.
Right, and we sleep hanging upside down like bats, and all this stuff.
Here's what's the really shitty thing about that is actually some of the propaganda that circulated about Jews in Nazi Germany.
Right, but anyway, when Jojo takes it to Captain K to kind of get his approval over something, Captain K kind of has this attitude of, yeah, it's kind of funny what you're doing, but he's almost dismissive of it, as in like, don't pursue this. Yeah, it's not something you should be pursuing. This book, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, I really like Sam Rockwell in this movie. Because I think Captain K was probably my favorite character, honestly, and like, yeah, I really like the way, like, the taking of Jojo under his wing sort of thing, and the way his character developed around that. So, but Sam Rockwell's amazing in just about everything he does.
Yep, everyone is amazing in this movie, though. Yeah. But yeah, it's there's some serious stuff in there. It's not all comedy. But there's plenty of comedy to balance it out, and it yeah, I don't know. I just really, really loved this movie.
It was really great. So go see it. Or else.
Yeah.
Nolan's gonna beat you up if you don't.
We'll send the Gestapo.
We'll send the Gestapo after you. But yeah, anything else?
I mean, I could probably talk about the movie all night, so we should probably just wrap it up.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we've been recording for about 30 minutes, so that's enough for an episode.
Yeah.
So our next movie that we're going to review is Motherless Brooklyn, and that'll go up probably the day after this goes up.
Yeah.
Whatever day that is.
Mm-hmm.
And so check that out. Check out our other reviews, because we see a lot of movies. What was our last one?
The last one was...
It all runs together after a
Not
while.
The Lighthouse. Oh, it was Current Wars.
Current Wars. Okay.
Or Current War.
Yeah, Current War. So, yeah, go check out other reviews. We've got so
This will be like
many movies coming up.
119, I think will be the number for this one.
119?
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, our after Motherless Brooklyn, we have our Terminator Dark Fate review going up. It's probably going to go up the day after Motherless Brooklyn.
Yeah.
All right. Then upcoming, we've got Midway. Honey Boy looks interesting. Ford v Ferrari looks really good. The Good Liar looks really good. Frozen 2, I don't really have any opinions on, but we're gonna see it anyway because everyone's gonna see it. Because how can you how can you understand the zeitgeist if you don't see Frozen 2, right?
Yeah.
Knives Out looks really good as well. It's just a bunch of good stuff coming up, and then Frozen 2. Nolan's really excited for the Playmobil the movie.
Yeah, you keep saying that, but I haven't felt that
If
way.
I say it enough, it'll become true.
That's not how that works.
Pretty sure it is. The Jumanji sequel coming up. Real excited for that.
Yeah.
Richard Jewell, we're gonna go see. That's just probably gonna piss us off, but we're gonna go see it.
It's also got Sam Rockwell.
It does also have Sam Rockwell and John Hamm and Olivia Wilde, so what's not to like in that? Uncut Gems, which is actually an Adam Sandler movie that for the first time I saw a trailer for an Adam Sandler movie, went, I think I want to see that movie. It's got a 91 Metascore right now.
It's pretty good.
That is very good. Obviously we're gonna see Star Wars. Nolan's real excited for Cats.
Again, you keep saying that.
1917 looks really good too. They started playing in the theaters around here anyway. They started playing this like before the trailer, like behind the scenes thing about 1917. Kind of like that Les Mis thing that ran for like a year and a half, it felt like.
Oh, yeah, it seemed to run forever.
That and what was that cop one with Michael Pena?
Oh, Last Watch?
End of Watch.
End of Watch.
End of Watch. Yeah, and like it was like here's like a early preview or like thing about the movie. Except that the 1917 is just like, it looks really good, and the kind of things they're talking about in this like behind the scenes preview thing are really interesting. Talking about just how they managed the continuous shot movie, because it's like Birdman, and the whole thing's done like it's one shot. So that we're real excited for, and that'll round out our year. That'll be an interesting weekend after Christmas, seeing that movie. So
Yeah.
that's what we got coming up. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, hit that subscribe button, hit the alert button, like the video, dislike the video, praise us in the comments, yell at us in the comments. Just literally type the word comment in the comments. We'll take all of it at this point.
Yeah. There's a bell thing, as I understand.
Yeah, that's the alert thing. I don't know what it's actually called. I call it the alert thing because when you hit that, it'll alert you when that channel does something. So, I don't fully understand. I don't really understand YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, so until next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Tschüss.